Broadway Static coilovers use a solid bushing to bolt into the lower control arm, so these bushing pieces are actually removable. Once the bushings are removed, I like to stick a breaker bar into the bottom of this mounting point to prevent the coilover from spinning while I apply torque to any of these collars as needed. I'm going to be breaking loose the lower mount locking collar so that I can adjust the ride height of the coilover. So there are a few different ways of setting up and matching coilover ride height. One of the things I like to do for the rear coilovers is actually put a spacer inside the cup of the lower mount. So right now there's a 1-inch spacer in there. I know that the coilover is 1 inch from being bottomed. Some guys like to come here and measure the thread distance between the collars. I find this method to be a little bit easier, but what we're going to be doing is swapping this 1-inch spacer to a 1/2-inch spacer so that we can lower the car 1/2 inch. Real quick, this collar up here is for preloading of the spring. Once the spring preload is set up, you should never have to really touch it again. All of the height adjustment is supposed to be done with this lower mount down here. Now, if the lower mount is maxed out completely all the way low and you're still not low enough, you either have the option of sagging the spring here by dropping the preload to make the car lower, or you can utilize the drop LCAs that I talked about in another video. So here's the 1-inch spacer on the right that we had in there, and here's the 1/2-inch spacer on the left that we're going to be putting in. It doesn't really matter what the spacer looks like, it just matters that you can get it in there and just kind of get a nice gauge for how far you need to make the height adjustment. Now that we got the height adjusted, we can reinstall the coilover and see how we like it. I'm pretty happy with how this fitment turned out. All we'll have to do is match the other side and align it, and the rear will be done. Torque spec for these rear strut tower nuts is 25 foot-pounds. Torque spec for all three of these 17mm bolts and nuts is 59 foot-pounds. Don't mind my missing sway bar.